Good afternoon. This is the JP Dinnell podcast, episode 32. I am JP Dinnell, and as always, I have Lucas with me. I have allowed time to slip away from me throughout my whole life due to complacency. My life overall has been unfairly amazing. And I know that's not a real word, but for me, I'm using it. I know that my worst days are the dreams of many. I am very thankful for my relationship with God, my salvation, and His forgiveness. I am truly not worthy of His sacrifice. And the sad part is, I have always known this my whole life, yet I allowed complacency to creep in time after time and have yet lived my life to truly honor His sacrifice. I am also very thankful for the unconditional love of my wife, Amanda. She has truly been my queen since day one. I still remember the way I felt when we first locked eyes. She is the most amazing mother, and I am so thankful and lucky to have the family that we have. My parents made me who I am. My family made me who I am. I am thankful for everything my parents sacrificed for our family growing up, and I'm truly thankful for the work ethic they have taught all three of us Dinnell kids. There is zero chance I would have become a Navy SEAL if it was not for the work ethic both my parents instilled into me throughout my whole life by showing us what it looked like. To be honest, my life makes no sense to me. I have done amazing things, and I have done things I am not proud of. Why do I get more time here on Earth? What is my actual purpose? Everything made sense to me when I was a Navy SEAL. Everything. Everything, for the most part, seems to make sense working at Echelon Front. At times, not often, but at times, I do feel like I deserve a seat at the table. I'm sorry. I do not feel like I deserve a seat at the table. But most of the time, I know that I do. And I am thankful for that opportunity. And that makes me work even harder to earn that seat. That seat is not given, and the seat is not for everyone. The sad thing is that I have taken this seat at the table for granted. I have allowed complacency to creep in. I have allowed complacency to control my life. I got lazy. I am lazy. I was looking for the easy way out. Instead of facing my demons and declaring war on complacency, I allowed myself to become a victim of the casualties of war. I have made excuses. I have lied to myself, and I have lied to everyone around me. I know I've shared this before, but in January of 2020, I was in Half Moon Bay working with Jocko and one of our clients, and I was frustrated with myself. I was talking to him about some stuff. He listened to every word I said. He paused, he processed it, and he simply replied to me saying, "Discipline is rooted in the truth that we tell ourselves, JP." He also had a few more things to add, but I'll keep that to myself for now. Jocko was calling me out on my bullcrap. I had been lying to myself about my health and fitness. I had been making excuses for far too long. And to be honest, I'm still making those excuses. It needs to stop. I allowed the disease of victory to creep in more times than I am happy to admit. And that was a small foothold that complacency needed to come in and ruin the great things that God had intended for me. So, what I just read, I actually wrote a while ago when I was frustrated with myself. I know we have addressed this slightly in the past, but I want to open the door again for a deeper conversation. And the unique thing about what I just read is I wrote that when I was on a flight back home from an event. It was not Echelon Front related, but I was flying home from an event that I was at, and I was frustrated again with myself. And the sad thing is, I was about 5 glasses of red wine deep when I decided to start writing and typing these thoughts. And I am happy to say, as of today, when I'm recording this, I am 443 days without any alcohol. Lucas, what's going on, my friend?
What's going on, brother?
How are you?
Man, I'm a little taken aback. I'll say this is not how I anticipated we were going to start off episode 032.
Let's go.
Yeah, I know this isn't one of our Q&A episodes, but we did have somebody, a friend of the show, ask what app you're using to track that accomplishment of yours. Like, is it an app or is it something on the phone that allows you to track that?
It is an app, and it is...
Because that has been one of those things that a few people have been like, hey, how do you...
It's called Day Count.
Day Count.
Capital D-A-Y, capital C-O-U-N-T. And it looks like it has a little infinity circle, a little infinity symbol in the middle. And then you can just add all different things like... like you can go days until, days since. So when I was tracking the other year, when I was going to do Worlds, and I had it up to Worlds, and then ended up getting work stuff booked, and I was like, yeah. So it's a pretty cool thing, and then you can add the little things as a widget, to your home screen. So
that's cool.
It just pops up there.
Yeah, because yours has that like reminder daily of like what day you're on, and that's pretty cool.
All day, every day.
That is pretty neat. So you were 5 glasses of red wine into a flight, and you decided to write this. What prompted you to write this?
Just frustrated with myself.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, it was frustrating because it's this cycle, right? That just keeps coming back and keeps coming back. And it's like this understanding that complacency is never going to go away. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. I can talk about it on stage with the muster. I can talk about it on podcasts. I can, talk about how complacency kills, yet it's still knocking at the door every single day. And like, complacency is the devil. The devil's trying to creep in. He's trying to ruin my life. He's trying to ruin your life. He's trying to ruin our marriages. He's trying to ruin our finances, our happiness, our joy, peace, all those things. And, I was frustrated. And the unique thing is, like, I'm sitting there writing all these things that I'm complacency as I'm like just drinking red wine. Now, granted, it was one of those late night flights where it's pitch black. So nobody else, on that flight, like, nobody knew. I wasn't flying with anybody. Nobody knew who I was.
Sure. And
in my mind, I'm justifying it by, it's like, hey, it's pitch black. Nobody can really see that I'm pounding wine. Like, you can't really tell, in my mind, I'm like telling myself these things. Yeah. I'm justifying, and it goes back to the whole thing, like Jocko said, discipline is rooted in the lives that we tell ourselves. I'm justifying these things. And, and so I was just like looking through some documents, and I pulled that up, and I was reading that earlier, and I was like, because I was thinking about us just doing a straight Q&A session for this one, and we can. I mean, we can unfold that, we can go back to it, or we can just open up the door for some questions based off of what I just wrote. But it was just a little Word document in my computer, and it was just sitting there.
Okay. Complacency is a word we've talked about a lot on this show.
Yeah.
And anytime there is a single topic that we focus on a lot, right? I always ask myself the question, like, all right, have we gotten everything that we can out of a particular topic? I ask myself the same thing with the interviews that we do, right? Yeah. Like when we had Ryan Vong on, right? There's so much more to of Ryan's story, right? That we didn't get out of him in that. And so, like, part of me is like, well, do we go back? Do we try and pull more out of Ryan to get him to tell those parts of the story? Yeah. Or is it good enough as it is, that like we told the story, it had an impact, we're good to go? We have talked at length with several of our guests about complacency, but one of the things you said when you were doing the open was that, like, complacency is something that we struggle with daily. And I think that is one of the reasons that, on the one hand, like, okay, yeah, we've talked about complacency a lot, but on the other, Is it something that we can address often enough? Because we talk about discipline all the time and nobody seems to get tired of us talking about discipline. And yet when we talk about complacency, I think it's one of those things because it's so specific.
Yeah.
And it's got so many of these triggers, because complacency in some of our lives means laziness.
Yep.
Complacency for some of us means that we have decided to shut people out.
Yep.
Complacency has all of these different facets to it. And so you're at this point, you mentioned here your health and your fitness. And for you, that's been a big point of emphasis recently.
Yeah.
Right. So what led to that complacency for somebody who like talks about fighting complacency all the time? How does it still creep up? You're the expert on being non-complacent.
I would say I'm not the expert, and that's why. And
Okay.
that's why it keeps coming up. Am I aware of it? Yes. It's like, you said we've talked about complacent or discipline a lot, yet nobody cares. And what's funny is like the amount that we've talked about discipline compared to someone like Jocko is like minuscule. And yet people still want to hear about it because it's something that I think all of us as humans are aware that we lack discipline. And the thing with complacency is it's something that if we're even just somewhat self-aware, we recognize that we're complacent. And the thing with the health and fitness for me, it goes back to the lies, like justifying these stupid little things in my mind. Oh, I'm tired, or hey, I need a little more sleep, or hey, it's hey, we're going to celebrate with friends and go do these things. Okay, well, I don't have to eat 3,500 calories in one sitting. I could be just somewhat disciplined and, order a modest meal or only eat half of my meal. Or let's just say like, okay, hey, we're going to go meet up. Like, let's plan ahead. Next Friday, our families are getting together and we're going to Chewy's for dinner. Well, you know what? I know that I'm going to get like Shirley's Goo, or I'm going to get the steak burrito. The steak burrito is 1,100 calories. And then I'm going to eat some queso and some tortillas. And, so if I know, and I'm just saying, like, I like to call it tortillas burrito skins. So when I go to a Mexican restaurant and we're getting tortillas on the side to go with the queso or whatever, I'll ask for an extra side of burrito skins just to see the reaction of the waiters and waitresses. You saw that.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. It was really entertaining for Kirsten and I.
Yeah. But, one, I don't need to eat all those things. I don't need to. We know there's no reason to eat all those things. But let's just say I wanted to plan ahead. Okay. Well, maybe I fast all day and I work out and I'm fasted and I put myself in a deficit to where when I do eat that, I'm not over. Or I can plan ahead. Jonathan Montgomery and his wife Ann, that's one of their big things with First in Nutrition is plan ahead. It's pretty simple. Like, if you have
I don't
it.
like that guy's smile. He smiles too much.
He smiles all the time.
He smiles all the time. I don't like it. I don't trust it.
One of the things that Lauren, he's come to a few FTXs. He came to Pursuit. I was talking to him about something at one of the FTXs for food, or I was like, oh, you can't have this. He's like, no, I can. I didn't plan for it. So their whole thing is you can eat whatever you want. You just have to plan it around it. So if you're going to go eat a 1,100 calorie burrito, plan around it. Make sure you're in a deficit and you're going to get enough protein to offset those macros. And guess what? You can do that once in a while. It's just that takes a little bit of time, a little bit of effort, preparation, and people are lazy. I'm lazy. I've been lazy.
Yeah.
And that's what's allowed that complacency to keep creeping in. It's not just knocking at the door. I'm opening the door and saying, come on, you want to sit on the couch? You want to hang out? You want to have a sleepover? Like I'm not like, I'm letting these things happen.
Complacency.
Yeah. I'm literally the only person that's allowing these things to happen.
Right.
And it's, it goes back to what Jocko said. discipline is rooted in the truth that we tell ourselves. And complacency is rooted in the lies that we believe, and we allow ourselves to live these lies. And, just acting like, me telling myself like, oh, it's not a big deal. Like, okay, justifying doing things and not doing things, justify eating a certain way and not eating a certain way. And, it's just something I just have to be more vigilant with. And, that's like the whole, like, no drinking thing. I painted myself in a corner by going hard in the paint against it on Jocko's podcast.
Yeah.
And I've talked about it multiple times on this podcast and other podcasts. And, it's the thing of like with drinking alcohol, like, I don't there's not really a reason for me to. If I wanted to have some red wine with my wife, all right. Like, again, I've talked about that. I'll just say, yep, I did it. Back to not drinking. But again, I haven't, like, I don't know of like a situation where it's like having a glass of red wine is like necessary for me to break the no drinking thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. Like but
I'm at a point now, like 443 days where I'm just like, why would I?
And there is that, like, that factor of, do you miss it? And if you find that you don't, then there's no reason to go back to it, right? There is a magnificent episode of That 70s Show, okay, where one of the kids gets involved with a girl, and then they break up. And he gets the advice from Red, the guy who plays the gruff dad. And Red says, what you find in relationships whenever you break up is that you miss a person and you miss him every day. And then one day you realize that you didn't miss him. And then it makes you a little sad that you found out there was a day that you didn't miss him. But if you go on not missing them, then what you realize is it wasn't worth it. And I think that applies a lot to complacency, just like in general, because so much of complacency is cutting out the things that are unhealthy for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. That we think of, I think complacency as not doing something. Right. They're like, oh, I know I should go to the gym, but I'm complacent. And so therefore I'm going to stay home and watch TV, where oftentimes complacency is like choosing the bad thing over the good thing or the best thing.
Yeah. Yes. And it's reframing the way you think. Like, we have to reprogram our minds. That's what I was talking about today on the Extreme Ownership Academy session with the topic of I get to do this, was legitimately saying, hey, you just have to reprogram your mind.
Yeah.
When I was going through buds, I was waking up saying, I get to do this. It was legitimately, it was a reprogramming of my brain to say, man, I can't wait to go for a run. I can't believe I get to do these things.
That sounds psychotic to me.
Well,
I can't wait to go for a run.
Exactly, because I'm not a runner, and I'm not.
I'm not.
I never have been, but I would run because I knew the benefit of it. And I know there is a benefit to running.
Yeah.
There is. Undeniable. There's a benefit to it. If you want to be a Navy SEAL, you have to be able to run. You have to be able to run long distances. You have to have that cardio and that endurance and being able to, these are all things that come into play. Like, hey, guess what? Being able to hold your breath. You have to be in shape to hold your breath.
Yeah.
Part of that is being able to run and do sprints and do all those things. And so for me, I was like, oh, if I want to achieve this level of excellence, which is becoming a Navy SEAL, you can fill in the blank on that. I want to achieve this excellence of fill in the blank. There are things you have to do to hit those. You have to. What are those things? And so for me now, reframing that thought process to, okay, I want to achieve these levels of excellence in my marriage, as a parent, as a member of Echelon Front, as a business owner, right? With Little Cattle Co. and On the Path and a few other things. Like, hey, guess what? In order for me to do those things, I've got to be on my game, which means that I have to be efficient with my time. I have to be mindful of like where I allocate time and resources and commitments. And I can't allow complacency to creep in. I can't waste my time. Like time. That's the biggest thing. Like, because when I get complacent, I waste time. Isaac sent that group text to us earlier of, dude, he got a legit pump from that workout.
Oh,
yeah. And that was like, if you look at the volume that he did, you're like, bro, that's a good amount of work. 20 minutes. Yeah. 5 exercises, 5 rounds, every minute on the minute, just crushing it. And it was a self-imposed beating. That's what he said, right? Something along those lines. 20 minutes. And now most people, they would be like, oh, I don't have time to work out. Yes, you do. That's a lie. That's what we tell people at the muster. Hey, we do these workouts to show you that anywhere you can get a legit workout in a hotel room, out in a park, in your basement, in your garage. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like in your living room. There's no reason why you can't. I look at my sister, Sarah, who everything she's accomplished. Now she's married to an amazing man. My brother-in-law, Brian, is freaking absolutely incredible. And they just had a baby, beautiful baby boy. But for a while, my sister was busting her butt as a single mom, to be able to get through med school and do all these other things. Obviously things changed, the dynamic changed when she met Brian and she had that support of that relationship. But there's a long time my sister Sarah was doing it on her own. And guess what? My sister has always maintained her health and her fitness.
Yeah.
I mean, she had like 3 jobs and then also was doing 3 jobs. So single mom, 3 jobs, going through school, and then did a figure competition.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, she wasn't lazy.
Yeah.
She wasn't allowing the excuses that most people allow to creep in to actually even be a thought in her mind.
How much
that's what she wanted.
Yeah, I was going to say, how much in a situation like that do you think that the need to be structured is so overarching that almost becomes the driving force behind everything, right? That like, okay, so because I'm a single parent, because I have 3 jobs, right? That the amount of livelihood structure that takes almost affords that person a little bit more clarity with their time.
It's out of necessity.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So that they have the ability to do that. Whereas a person where in their life, things are going fairly well.
The disease of victory creeps in and
Absolutely.
You get complacent 100%. And look at a guy like Jocko. People are like, oh, how does he do all that stuff? Because he's efficient with his time.
Yeah.
Everything is in his calendar. Everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. He uses his calendar as a tool. And we've talked about this before on previous episodes, or maybe it was one of
a YouTube exclusive Q&A.
Yes.
It's all about calendaring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't know about your YouTube exclusives, now you do. So
check them out.
We do weekly episodes that are only on YouTube, little Q&A sessions. Anyways, but you have a guy like Jocko, a guy like Pete Roberts building Origin, right? Brian Littlefield with Jocko Fuel. Sal Frisella was First Form. The list, Andy Frisella, the list goes. Andy Stump with all the things that he has going on. I mean, you have to be using your calendar. You have to be using something as a tool, which the only tool I know of is a calendar for time management.
Right.
And these guys and gals are very efficient with what they're able to accomplish. I look at someone like Jamie Cochran, who lives out of her calendar. Why? Because it gives her freedom. Because she's disciplined with her time management, it gives her freedom. All the things that she has going on at Echelon Front, and she's also writing a book, and she's a mother of 3 kids. Wait, 3, 4. I should know this. Yes, she's a mother.
She's a mother.
Good Lord.
Jamie Cochran is, in fact, You heard it here first, folks. Jamie Cochran is his mom.
It's either 3 or 4. I think it's 3. Cody has 4. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, Cody's got
It
4.
doesn't matter how many kids she has. She has kids, and her husband's traveling and he's busy and, with his business that he's growing. And it's unreal. And these people are able to perform at high levels because they're disciplined with the tasks that need to be done. They're disciplined with managing those tasks. And that's how you go to war with complacency. And you can't let the disease of victory creep in. And
yeah. So if you go back to April 3rd is when we posted the video is your calendar ruining your schedule?
Okay.
Where we talk about all of that and like keeping up with those types of things. When you talk at the muster, you talk about how complacency in your marriage almost ruined your marriage.
Yeah.
Or did, but like God's grace allowed you to get that back, right? You talked about how it happens in your personal life and how complacency creeps in and those kinds of things. And in particular, one of the things that you hit on pretty often is the disease of victory. That's a hard thing, I think, for a lot of people to wrap their mind around, because when you think about the disease of victory and the way that we've talked about it, you don't see the disease of victory from the people who are on the podium, because the guys that are typically on the podium, the guys who are the champions, right? Like we're in the Jiu-Jitsu world, Gordon Ryan.
Okay.
You think Gordon Ryan is really plagued by the disease of victory? Because that dude only seems to be getting better and better and better every time he goes out, whenever he chooses to do that. And there's a lot of stuff around him, like in the jiu-jitsu world, that some people may not love. But like the thing is, if the disease of victory was creeping in on him, somebody would have beat him, and nobody has.
Yeah.
Right. So
for a while, he has been beat. Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So the thing is, and when we're looking at it, like if you're looking at the disease of victory only seems to affect the people that are not getting that aren't on the podium.
Well, for the most part, I mean, the disease of victory crept in and got Michael Jordan for a while.
Okay.
And he has a comeback story.
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
As a legit comeback story. Amanda and I, we have a pretty cool comeback story. You know, I mean, we weren't just separated, we were divorced.
Right.
And so I think the disease of victory isn't usually highlighted.
Okay.
And so that's why we're not aware of it as much as we are. You see this in business happen often. One of the things that most businesses, when they have a sales team, is their biggest issue is how do they structure the comp plan, because they want their people to stay hungry.
Right.
So how do you keep your people hungry? Well, you've got to balance that out with compensation.
Yeah. Or you got to move the goalpost.
You've got to continuously move the goalpost. High base salaries tend to not be ideal for people in general. And I know someone's like, wait, what? I'm just telling you, because people get complacent, they get comfortable. Most people aren't going to feel this like now initially you get hired on, let's say I have a company and I'm like, hey, Lucas, man, dude, you know what? I value you. I value everything that you bring to the table. I'm going to start you off at $250,000 a year, and you're going to have some like small little bonuses, but I want to make sure your base is good to make sure you're taken care of. Initially, you're going to be like, this is unreal. I'm going to work my butt off. You have my loyalty. That will fade.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. That is going to fade quickly. And, that's why, companies, when they're doing compensation models, usually for salespeople, it's a small base or no base, and it's commission driven.
Right.
It's metric driven. Hey, you do this, you get this. It's the whole hunter model. Like we want that keeps people hungry and it keeps them working, you want
to keep making your car payment, you better make some sales.
Yep.
Otherwise you won't have that car.
Yeah. I mean, big salaries is freaking communism, man.
It certainly can be, right? Because it's
big, but look at a big picture,
Yeah.
no emotions involved to communist parties. And I mean, it really
Yeah.
is, because if you're making $250,000 a year and I'm making $250,000 a year to produce sales for a company, and you go out there and you sell, 10 deals this month and I sell 5, but we still get the same amount. Is that fair?
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
You-
I mean,
you-
yeah.
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, in regards to, like, I understand your point. Yeah, and there is a bit of the, like, what do they call it when a person is like a liquid, a person that has a liquid personality means that, when you put liquid into something, it fills the container.
Yep.
Right. And so that, like, if you give me $250,000 a year as a base salary, right, I am going to live to a comfortable means at that $250,000 a year.
Oof.
But also, if you give me $80,000 a year, I'm going to right size all of the things in my life where I can have the same amount of comfort at $80,000 a year, right?
Yeah.
So the car I drive is going to look a little different. The food that I buy, the restaurants that we go to are going to look a little different.
Most people aren't stacking cash and saving when that increase of pay comes.
Yeah.
Now, there are people, but most don't.
Yeah, they simply aren't. But the lifestyles, and there was a study that was done on this not too long ago that said the average person that makes, at the time, it was about 5 or 6 years ago, where if a person made $60,000 a year, right, that there was no change in their level of happiness between $60,000 a year up to $10 million a year.
Dang.
That there was zero change in their level of happiness. Once you hit like that $10 million a year mark, then happiness started to decline dramatically. But from $60,000 a year to $10 million a year, right, stress levels changed, right? But as far as like overall happiness and those types of things, you didn't see that there was very much change.
Interesting.
Right? And so that's what I thought too, right? Is like, that's really
I don't know how
fascinating.
factual that is, but it's an interesting perspective and it's an interesting thought, because I know there are people listening right now that would disagree, because I know of people that, but I'm trying to think, because I know of people that have made $100,000 a year and then, they had massive changes in their lifestyle and they made a lot more and they were overall a lot happier. But I wonder if how much of that is actually directed and connected to the income. That's what you're saying, correct?
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. This study has now been updated. So now it is $75,000 a year, right? And the level of happiness between a person that makes $75,000 a year increases only until they get to $100,000 a year. It plateaus at $100,000 a year to $1 million a year. And then after $1 million a year, every $100,000 going to $10 million, there is a notable decrease in overall happiness. So when you get to that $75,000 to $100,000 a year mark, you're fine. $100,000 to $1 million, you're fine. And then every $100,000 you make over $1 million, you become essentially like 1 degree. And this is something that was done in Forbes. And this one is from 2024. The article is titled "Money Buys Happiness After All." But what's interesting is that the conclusion is...
That's a nice little clickbait title, by the way.
That the conclusion is that there is a link between the two, but it's conditional, because when we start to make too much money, then our happiness does decline overall, because we have all these extra stressors and stuff that comes in. That said...
Yeah, because there are definitely extra things associated with making that much money.
Right. But that said, when we're talking
how you
about...
balance it, though.
Agreed. But when we're talking about this $250,000 scenario, the guy that makes $250,000, according to this article, the guy that makes $250,000 and the guy that makes $100,000 is barely happier than the guy that makes $75,000, because they all have what they need to live, quote, comfortably.
So when you say it that way, yep, I understand 100%. I know people though that make tens of millions and hundreds of millions a year,
Yeah.
they're pretty dang happy.
No doubt.
They have zero financial like stresses personally. However, there are like the other stresses that are involved are unreal.
For sure.
So I see how like
There's
this
a balance
applies.
to it.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, when you say that, like, hey, if I'm making $100,000 a year and my mortgage is met, I have groceries that I can go buy, my vehicle payments are taken care of,
and maybe a couple $1,000s of play money every month.
Yeah. You can put a little bit of money each aside each month.
Have a nice vacation once or twice a year.
Yeah. Okay, that's awesome.
And that's what I think when we talk about the disease of victory, that's what I think is because when you're in that group, you are so comfortable, right? Because you're not hungry. You no longer have that desire to get to the next thing, but you're also like, you're not at the top. It's have you ever seen the just award-winning documentary Pumping Iron?
Go on with your thoughts.
Right. I used to watch it every day when I was bodybuilding. Right. So when I was getting ready for my bodybuilding competitions, when I started the diet, I would get up at 4, I would watch Pumping Iron, and then I would go to the gym and get on the stair stepper. And I did that for like 3 months straight, every competition I was doing, because I needed that little extra oomph of motivation.
Yeah.
There's something that Arnold says in there. He's having this conversation with Frank Zane, and they're talking about Zane's going to go train Lou Ferrigno. And Lou Ferrigno and Arnold were competing for the Mr. Olympia back in 1977 or 76. And so this is what's kind of going back and forth. And Frank Zane says, the guy at the top gets lazy. And Arnold goes, no, the wolf at the top. He's like, the wolves at the bottom are hungry, but the wolf at the top, when he wants the meat, it's there. And the idea that Arnold was putting forth is like, when I want to eat, I'm going to devour anything that comes up against me, right? When we stop being hungry, we no longer have that mentality. We lose all of that because we're more, honestly, like we're more comfortable. And that was the thing that Zane was pointing out, is that like, if you're a mid-level guy, and everything around you is pretty comfortable, then you're not looking to be not complacent because life's pretty good.
Okay, so personally, I don't like Arnold because of the statements that he made in the most recent years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, dude, screw you.
Yeah, fair enough.
Honestly, as a person,
enough.
I'm like,
yeah.
You forgot the freedoms that allowed you to have the life that you have? Oh, that's right. Because, to our point, right?
Right.
Disease of victory, forgetting where he came from.
For sure.
Like, hey, mofo, like this country gave you everything that you have, and that's because we have freedoms to do these things. Yeah. So when you're saying F your freedoms, dude, goodbye.
Yeah.
In my book. And I've met the guy. I have a picture with him, with Jocko, Leif, Dave Burke, and I, and him. We met him down in Austin, Texas. But anyways, I can put that personal difference aside.
Yeah, detach from that.
Oh, yeah, I can, for sure. 100%. Because here's the deal. That guy has accomplished more in life than almost most of the people out there.
Yeah, from a metric standpoint, for sure. Yeah,
for sure. And his mindset that he has is not common. Like that saying that he said, that's who he is, or that's who he was. That's what allowed him to achieve what he achieved. Jocko has that same mindset. Mm-hmm. That is it is who he is. He has that drive every single day. And that's what makes them different. And we have to push ourselves. As humans, we have to push ourselves. We have to be pursuing something that's bigger than ourselves. That's what makes a difference. I knew a guy who had this goal, and it was a number. And he said, once I get this much money in savings, I'm done. And I'm like, what? He goes, yeah. all I need. He goes, if I have this much money in savings, the interest brings me this much, and I don't need anything more than that. I couldn't relate to that.
Yeah.
I just, in my brain, I'm like, you're done? He's like, yeah, I'm done, man. Nothing else. I'm like, I just can't, I can't just do that. But there are some people that they're fine with that. Like, hey, as long as all my needs are met, I don't need anything more than that. And I can't relate to that, but there are times, honestly, that I'm somewhat envious of that. Because I wonder how much, like, when he hits that number, is he going to have that much less stress than me? Or is that going to fade pretty quick and he's going to have to go back to, like, getting after it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a tough question to answer.
Yeah. I have a buddy who sold his company for $40 million.
Okay.
And nice little chunk of money.
It's reasonable.
Kept half, invested the other into some other things, and has turned it into a couple $100 million.
Okay.
Insane.
Not too shabby. I'd trade bank accounts with him.
I would too. In a heartbeat.
Right.
I'll take what he's getting in interest.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But he still is, hey, I got this new project I'm working on. What do you think? And I'm like, this is awesome. You know, like, he legitimately doesn't have to do anything for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
His kids don't have to do anything. His grandkids don't have to, you know what I mean? Like, he could take the money he has right now and set up a trust with, like, hey, you're going to get this amount of money every single month. This much amount of money is going into an investment on your behalf each month. You get these dividends later on. Like, he could set that up, and kids, grandkids, and probably great grandkids would be good to go. But he's still working on the next thing because he's like, I don't do well when I have nothing to do.
Yeah.
He's a stud, former Marine, you know, and he's just a good human, man. And I look at a guy like that and I'm inspired by him. And, you know, and he's one of those guys where it's like, I think there's anomalies to everything out there.
For sure.
Like the whole, like, Arnold's like, hey, that's his saying. That's not a rarity. That's not a rare thing.
Yeah.
You know, that study. Yep. I think that applies for most people. But I look at my other buddy who's like literally has hundreds of millions in his name. He's super happy, man.
Right.
And he's pretty stress-free right now. Invites me to go do things.
Sure.
And I'm like, hey, bro, I can't just go do these things. Oh, no, just get me. Hey, if you can just get here, I'll take care of everything else. I'm like, I believe you, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
However, I can't just.
Yeah.
I
I can't afford the ticket to Mars that you're getting.
I can't just fly. No, but I mean, he's like reasonable. Like, hey, just make yourself to this city. I'm trying to be vague so I don't give away too much info.
You come to New York.
Yeah.
I'll be in New York. I'll pay for everything once you get here.
Yeah, and we're going to go do this
lands.
like crazy like thing. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, can I afford to fly to New York? Absolutely. Do I have the points? Absolutely.
Sure.
But I don't have that time freedom just to go do
Right.
it. And that's what I'm envious of.
Yeah.
But you know what? He's been super disciplined and he's earned everything. He's literally earned everything that he has. And those are the things that I have to remind myself of is stories of like this guy and what Jocko's doing and all, you know, there's other people is like, hey, like it's the time freedom. I don't care about the money. I'm at a point where I don't, the money, the number thing doesn't matter because I've recognized that it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's what, like, do you have that time freedom? Like, do I have the ability to go to California and go see my grandmother for 2 weeks?
Right.
No, because I have obligations.
Yeah.
And, you know, and there's nothing wrong with the obligations that I have. I love the obligations that I have, but it's finding the balance. I mean, you know, and that's the other aspect to this is like, hey, we have to go to war with complacency and we have to work hard. But if all we're doing is work, and we're not finding balance, then what's the point of all that work?
There's an aspect to this that I think high achievers will see, recognize, and take action upon. Right? Because high achievers in general are the folks that are on the podiums, the ones that are starting the companies, that are coming up with the new ideas, that are leading the companies, and that are trying to, work and grind to get themselves, their organization, their family, whatever, to the next goal. Not to the ultimate goal, because once most high achievers, they hit a goal and like, I want to do it again, right? We referenced Michael Jordan earlier. Okay, you win the MVP of the NBA, you win the championship, and then you win the MVP of the finals. All right, you just did it all. You are never going to achieve something greater than those in your professional career. But what did he want to do? He wanted to do it the next year with more rebounds, more points, more assists. Like, he wanted to do everything. He wanted all of those accomplishments again, but then he wanted it just a little better than he had been the year before. So it's that much harder for people to say that there was somebody greater than him. That is ingrained in high achievers to want to do that. How do you coach the guy who is, or the gal who is in the place where they are 100% completely comfortable, where my income is met, like everything is good. Maybe I'm a little bit overweight, but I don't really, I can eat whatever I want. And my doctor's saying that, like, things are pretty good. My marriage could be better, but things are okay. My kids have pretty much everything that they want. Like, life is good. How do you convince the life is good person, hey, you know what? Things could actually be better if, you went to war with complacency.
Yeah, so I don't want to convince anybody. I want to show them. Because when they see it themselves, and I understood what you're asking, but I want to be clear with the verbiage, because when you convince somebody of something, then you've got to convince them to stay in the fight.
Gotcha.
I don't want to convince you to do anything. I want to show you why it's beneficial to you so that you make that decision. And that's what I've had to do with myself. Like, I guarantee you, Jocko could have called me. Leif could have called me. Dave could have called me and be like, hey, man, your health isn't where it should be. Are you a really good representation of Echelon Front, being overweight and out of shape? Yeah, you're strong. Okay, but what, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't a good representation. Like, I still am not. I know where I need to be. But none of them did that, because then they would have to continuously do that.
Yeah.
I had to see it myself. And there was indirect things that they have done and said, like nothing like direct, but it was just like me saying, oh, okay, yep, hey, boom, 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 boom. And so if I'm trying to do that with somebody else, one, I have to look at my relationship with them. I'm always evaluating my relationship, because if I have a decent relationship with somebody, I have more influence over them.
Right.
And if I have a decent relationship and I have influence over somebody, then they're probably going to listen to the things that I'm talking about and saying. And if they're listening to the things that I'm talking about and saying, then I can indirectly talk about why being in shape is a good thing, and and sharing stories of hey, the times I've let myself get out of shape, like I didn't think it was a really big deal, but man, I'm so glad that I got myself together, because I tell you what, man, in the last 10 days I've lost 13 pounds, and there's a noticeable difference in my sleep. There's a noticeable difference in like how I feel, and man, I'm frustrated that I let myself get there, but man, I'm very thankful that I've been able to do these things. And so if I'm having that conversation with you, you might be like, I could do the same thing. And if I have a really good relationship, I'd be like, hey bro, I'm starting this new diet and workout program, because you know what? Like, I'm 41 and I don't want to be another like normal dad that's overweight and not able to keep up with their kids. Like, I want to be healthy. I want to be the dad that my kids brag on. And I want to be the dad that goes to, the sporting events, and people are like, dude, like that dude's an athlete. That dude,
right.
That's who I want to be. Like, hey, I'm starting this new program. Do you want to do it with me? And if you and I have a good relationship, you're probably going to say yes. Or if you say, no, I don't want to, I can say, well, why not? Why wouldn't you want to do this with me? because of our relationship. So
Right.
that's what I need to evaluate is my relationship strong enough to where I can actually influence this person to see the mirror themselves, to see why these things are beneficial to them. And then I work from there. I'll tell you one person who's been doing a great job of this. It was very it was definitely not directed at me, but I saw it and I took note to it, is Cordell. One of our leadership instructors at Echelon Front. He was a fighter pilot with Dave Burke. They actually went through OCS together.
What's OCS?
Officer Cadet School.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and so Officer Candidate School. Cadet Candidate. Yeah, anyways. Yeah. And his daily fitness posts have been awesome, where I'm like, mofo, what you doing, man?
Yeah.
And then there's a few other like things, like the Origin. They did a little mini documentary that's going to be coming out again. And it's a great video content, but I'm like, dude, I look freaking horrible. I say what you want, but no, I know. I know.
Yeah, my reaction to that is because, one, I think, again, if we're looking at high achievers are typically their own harshest critics.
Okay.
That tends to be something that keeps them driven, is because they recognize things within themselves, their organization, or whatever, that they want to change, and so they tend to be their biggest critics, right? So I do think that there are elements of that in what motivates you to want to make those changes in fitness and exercise, right? Is that you see things that you don't like, whereas the rest of the world might look at it and be like, bro, like you said, in the open, people would love to be in that situation, and yet you see it as like, no, these are the areas where I need improvement.
Yeah.
Whereas there are probably a lot of people that would look at that. I would say there are several people who would look at that and be like, if that's where I was at, I'd be totally happy. I wouldn't be thinking that. But it has to do with life experiences, where we're at, and those types of things, right?
But those are my metrics.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing, is when we expect excellence out of ourselves, we are more, I think, susceptible to complacency as a coping mechanism versus somebody who is just like settling and being comfortable, that when you get to a certain point, you see complacency as a coping mechanism, right? So a couple of episodes ago, we joked about, and we've done it a few times since then, that there are some people that are never going to run 800 miles in their life, right? Which Rob Jones did in a single month.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I am one of those, right? So there are some facets to this, right? Some of it is that like running is not something that's like high up on my desire. However, I love hard cardio, right? I love doing the Stairmaster. I love rolling Jiu-Jitsu. I really, really like, from being in the strongman background, I really, really like walking with Husafel stones, or like a farmer's walk. Like if you give me 100 to a 200 pound rock, right? Like if I'm going to do cardio, I want to pick that rock up and I want to carry it for 30 yards. I want to put it down. I want to pick it up and I want to go back. Like that's the cardio for me that is really appealing. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine Rob Jones looks at that and he's like, no, that's what I want to do, if his mindset is on long distance running. So so there are these differences. However, right, even though like my goals changed, and what I wanted to do when I switched from bodybuilding to powerlifting to strongman and those kinds of things, my view of my physique was still in the bodybuilding mindset. So even though I knew that like having a different style of physique was better for this new sport, I never got out of my mind that I needed to look this way. And so what I allowed myself to do was to become complacent as a coping mechanism and just say, you know what? This is fine. I don't need to look like that anymore. And if I did, that's actually a bad thing. And so it's better for me not to put all this emphasis on the cardio and my diet and all this stuff. And so that complacency became what allowed me to cope with like changing into things. And I think that for a lot of high achievers, that's the deal. How do we snap out of that? Because that truly is me buying into a lie that I have told myself, which is now making my discipline lack all the way across the board because I've decided, well, you know, what I really need is a power belly.
Yeah, which
as advantageous as it can be at certain levels,
which nobody does long term for health.
Yeah, oh, absolutely
You
not.
know, and that's the thing.
Yeah,
You know,
and
and that's
the
the
guys
point.
that are in that arena, right? Like you look at Eddie Hall. Eddie Hall was like 420 pounds when he won the World's Strongest Man. And at 6'2", 420 pounds when he won the World's Strongest Man in 2017. Now he's scaled back to where he's like 340, and he's got your like rhino physique.
Perfect.
Right? Yeah, but he lost all that weight because it was unhealthy for him to be there. It was untenable for him to remain there. He hit the goal. Now he's scaled back, and he's at a weight where he's comfortable, and now he's doing boxing matches and all kinds of other weird
that's
stuff.
awesome.
Yeah.
Good for him, man. You know, so to answer your question, it's something that you have to understand that you want. And once you want it, then you have to make the commitment. You know, we've talked about that before. Make the commitment to yourself, sign the contract.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the, like Kobe's sayings, right? Like sign the contract or make the contract, sign it, you know.
Yeah, the Mamba mentality.
Yeah, like that guy's a freaking stud. I mean, dude, his mindset was incredible.
Right.
Not a common mindset, but can it be adapted? Could we adapt it 100%? Probably. Some people can.
Yeah.
Can we adapt part of it? 100%. And these things are also biblical things. Like these mindsets that allow us to achieve victory and success in our health and our fitness and our marriage and in life. These are biblical principles about being disciplined. That's what this all comes down to.
Right.
And, you know, it's when we lack discipline, we're letting down the people that believed in us. You know, we talked about that. You know, to the point where a few people have actually made like reminders. Like my buddy Sean, it's literally in the windshield. He has a sticker there that's a reminder to himself because most of the time he spends is in his vehicle.
Yeah.
Is his windshield. So that was a reminder. So it's doing things like that. Like I told you, like putting things on my phone as a reminder. I see my phone all the day. Okay, cool. Boom. I see that. Hey, no alcohol. Picture of my wife and I. These are things that I put there as a reminder of what I need to be working on and what I need to be focused on. It's about being intentional. And so when you decide, hey, something needs to change, you need to be disciplined and you need to be intentional. You know, I look at my buddy Noah Anderson that works for us at Echelon Front. He's very intentional about everything that he does. His training, his work, his marriage, his friendships. He's very intentional. You know, he even has a tattoo on his forearm that says, do more.
Yeah.
That's literally, it just says do more. And it's just a reminder, do more, you know? And I was actually thinking about that I actually went for a jog this morning. I was going to say a run, but it was not a run. It was a jog.
What constitutes a run?
See, in my mind, like if I'm maintaining a 9-minute mile or faster, that's a run.
Do you think that has to do more with, I don't want to get into the weeds here and miss your point, but we're about to.
I don't want to do this.
I don't want to do this, but your TB, as I said, my
brain.
My ADD brain. Sometimes we have these weird intersections.
Okay.
Is it stride length?
No,
because
it's pace.
Okay, because I think that there's something to the jogger who's like doesn't have the 9-minute mile, that if they were to just, you know, spread their feet apart more, they're doing the same amount of work, but they could go farther faster if they just increase that stride length.
Again, you're talking about pace. This is like, so they're going farther faster. That's increasing your pace.
Yeah, because they increase their stride length. That's what I'm wondering. If you just stretch your legs a little further, does that make it a run? That's really the question that I'm asking.
Sometimes I just wish we could just go 3, 2, 1. I declare Van War, and we just fight on the podcast. I just attack you mid podcast. I don't know, and I don't care. But for me, I'm not lengthening my stride enough to where I can jog and it become a walk. Like a run. Like that is not going to happen with me. Okay,
that's all I wanted to know.
I guess maybe like 10. Maybe anything faster than like a 10-minute mile would be constituted as running.
Okay. Yeah, I could see
and then
that.
anything below that would be jogging.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because there's people out there that are running Ironmans and they're maintaining like a 11-minute mile pace and they're running.
Yeah, but
So
they're
I
doing
guess
a
that
lot
would
of
be-
other stuff other than running.
Yeah, but they're still running. They're not jogging.
Yeah.
I don't know what the pace is. But so anyways, I went for a jog this morning.
Cool.
Last night, I did it with a weight vest. So it was a walk, jog intervals.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one section that I was like, okay, I'm running. And I maintained it was like a 9:07 pace for half a mile with the weight vest on. And it was
That's
with a
impressive,
slight
man.
uphill gradient. And it was like, because it sucked, I was like, it made me want to do it more and more and more. And I was actually thinking about Noah's tattoo, like do more because of just like, hey, like, you know, that voice that starts to creep in. And then Cameron Hayes just made a post about how he just went and ran a marathon. And he was talking about how he didn't feel good and all these things. And he was like, yeah, nobody cares. Work harder.
Yep.
And then I thought about that and I increased my pace again. And it was cool because I got to my marker that I was like, cool, I go there and I can walk. And I hit the marker and I was like, nope, do more. And I could turn the corner and went down. And then I hit my next point and I was like, all right, cool. Now I can slow down to the jog interval. And then, but it was just conditioning their mind, right? Going back to reprogramming your mind. And I didn't want to do that initially, but I knew I needed to.
Yeah.
And then once I started doing it, I was like, I like this. Let's go. And so it's a mindset thing, 100%.
How much do you think exercise plays a role in helping to fight complacency? Like, this is a big thing that, you know,
It's a massive.
Yeah.
It is absolutely massive. Because if I can go to war with complacency, that voice that's creeping in, that's saying you're tired, you're sore, you need some rest. And I could say, okay, cool. Well, I'm still going to go put some work in because you and I both know there are legitimate physiological effects that are positive.
Oh, yeah.
When you do a workout. So why would I not want to do that? Just going and doing some work, getting a sweat in, makes you feel better.
Yeah.
And that
The endorphins, is that what they call
them?
them?
The endorphins, and you get a little dopamine hit at the end because you know you did something hard and you worked through some stuff. So there's always positive effects to a workout, and you know, it's just, you know, I was talking about the whole like you have these like limitations that people put, you know, with me with my, you know, maintaining a caloric deficit, you know, I took what most people said I should do and I doubled it and then like added more to it because I knew what was sustainable, and doing the bare minimum is going to get you the bare minimum results. And so I know for me to get back on track of where I want to be and where I need to be, it's going to require some drastic results, or I'm sorry, drastic things that I got to put in place.
You know, talking about all of this stuff, I think it's really interesting when we look at particularly like the role that exercise plays in complacency.
Yep.
Because one of the things that has come to prominence in recent years is esports. Are you familiar with this? Do you know about this? You know about esports? As I said,
Video
it up like
games?
it's a Seinfeld gig. Yeah, video games, right? So there is a huge hub in Dallas because Mark Cuban owns the Mavs gaming esports team.
Okay.
And if you look at the schedule of the daily schedule of the guys, for instance, that play NBA 2K, right? So it's whatever year it is. So it's like NBA 2K24 is the one for this year, right? If you look at the schedule that they have, the guys wake up and they all live in the Mavs gaming compound, okay? So they wake up and they've got a high-fat, high-protein breakfast. They go and they play games for like 90 minutes on a certain mode or a certain setting to get stuff warmed up. And then they have to go work out, and they have a personal trainer, and they've got a nutritionist, and they've got all of these things. Well, like, you laugh, but the
I laugh because I love it. Like
exactly.
This,
so that's
this
the
is
thing.
not me making fun of them,
right? But that's the thing that to me is so crazy, because when we think of the esports guy, I think a lot of us have the picture of, you know, the old school, like, lives in his mom's basement, you know, hermit kind of like nerd dude who like whenever he comes up and sees the sun, that his skin sizzles a little bit every day when he goes to get the mail, right? Whereas what we're actually seeing is the guys that do this professionally, that the team owners are making sure that they're doing things like getting exercise because it actually helps them to become better video gamers, which is it seems totally counterintuitive.
No, it makes sense.
But it does make sense whenever we're talking about how important those things are to keeping you from becoming complacent.
Yeah,
100%.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I love it. I'm glad that you used that analogy. I'm glad that you shared that story to have that analogy, because it just reiterates the point that if you're willing to be disciplined and put in the work, you can get the results that you need. And you have to go to war with complacency, and you can't let and it's like it's crazy. Like, now these e-gamers, I don't know what they make, but
hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah.
Good for them, man.
Yeah, man. For sure. It is very foreign to, like, the whole concept is very foreign to us. Mm-hmm. But in a world, in a culture, let's put it that way, right? I would say in a world, but that sounds like I'm doing a summer movie trailer. Yeah. In a world down under. So in a culture where influencers are now becoming more prominent and young people are seeing that as a career path, and e-gaming, like esports in particular is becoming more prominent, where, if you talk about a certain game, they can tell you, like, here are the top people who do this. And it's even on mobile games, man. Like, there are professional people who play mobile games on their phone that make a living doing that, right? And then when they retire from the game, it's a big deal. So there's a whole generation of people that are seeing those as viable options for their careers. Whenever you look at that and say, okay, so what's the difference between you sitting at home playing video games 5 hours a day and or maybe 7 or 8 hours a day, and this guy who's a professional esports gamer, right? Who he's only playing video games 4 hours a day. What's the difference? Why is he so much better than you? Is it because he's that much better at the game, or is it because he's disciplined with the time he spends playing the game? Because he's eating the right things, he's working out, he's doing all of these other things. So with the kids that we're talking to today, that are like, well, no, I want to be a professional e-gamer. All right, cool. Then what it looks like you need to do, based off of the schedule of the best esports players in the world, it looks like you need to go spend a little time at the gym. Yeah. And that you need to get your diet right so that, everything is dialed in to do that. The applications of all of this stuff in every walk of life is so crazy to me, because it's not just business. It's not just being a great Navy SEAL. It's not just like being a wonderful pastor. It is, if you want to succeed in any area, these are the things you got to do.
I love it.
Blows me away, man.
I know. That's a really cool way to kind of think about it as we close this out, because it takes away a lot of the excuses that people have to, like,
100%.
Oh, well, no. These are universal principles.
I got to do this. I want to win at Call of Duty. Well, nope. Sounds like you need to go outside for 45 minutes for 75 days straight.
It's amazing. All right. So, hey, before we close it out, on June 11th, 2024, I will be doing a full-day Echelon Front leadership workshop here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It's going to be open for individual ticket sales, so you can come solo, you can bring a small team, bring a large team, it don't matter. It probably is going to sell out, so be mindful of that. Do not wait until the end. I know we actually, I was supposed to be doing this a while ago. We had to push it back, and we still have tickets that were sold for that pushed over to this event. Yep. Also working to get it certified for our first responders as well, so you can have actual accredited hours for this leadership training that we provide at Echelon Front. If you want to sign up for that, you can actually just go to the show notes. The easiest way for you is go to the show notes. If you're on YouTube, we'll have it in there as well. On iTunes and Spotify, if you just click on the information for this episode, it'll show up in the show notes. Click on that link, get signed up. If you have any issues with that, just send us a message. We'll get back to you on that. So again, before we close it out with the final thoughts, I want to take this moment to thank all of you guys for the support you guys give us by listening, sharing, subscribing, commenting. Subscribing is a big thing, so make sure you guys are subscribed, get the notifications for when these events come out, so that you can also check out those YouTube exclusive events. Like I said, every week we are we have, since we launched it, been able to release one per week. We are going to do our best to maintain at least one extra YouTube exclusive episode per week. If you want to follow us on social media, if you're not and you want to follow us on social media, I am at JP Dinnell. That's 2 N's, 2 L's. Lucas is at Lucas Pinkard, Lucaspinkard. Make sure you're following at Echelon Front as well, so you can see what we do at Echelon Front. You go to echelonfront.com to check out more information of the different services, the different events that we have. Like we talked about, we have the muster, we have roll call, we have the battlefield, the council, the FTXs, Extreme Ownership Academy. We have a lot of different events. We can also come talk with your team. We can come to you. We can do it Zoom. We can do whatever you need. If you want, you can also check out Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu. It's a ministry that I'm a part of with Isaac, Stephen, and Josh. We have a podcast, we have an episode that comes out every week on Instagram. It's at Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu_USA. I am a partner with a Texas beef company called Little Cattle Co.
Get that beef.
My best friend Stephen Little started the company back in 2017 with his wife. Last year in 2023, my wife and I partnered up with them. Our website is littlecattle.co. It's our name as a website. So again, that's littlecattle.co. We deliver beef anywhere in the lower 48. We can also send boxes of beef to customers, friends, clients, anybody. If you want to send a unique gift, let us know. We can send it on your behalf. We can also and will also include a customized personal note for those gifts that you guys are sending out. Also partner with a company called On the Path Printing. Josh Strasberg and I started that company. If you want to follow us on Instagram, it's On the Path Printing. And also Bruiser Arms.
Come on, baby.
Come on, man.
I'm so excited about this.
Leif, Jocko, and I have. You can check us out on Instagram. It's at Bruiser Arms. We're going to start putting out some more information and content on there in regards to some different gear and products that we're going to have available, as well as different training classes. I'm really looking forward to that. I actually was talking to one of my good buddies who's a sniper as a Green Beret, and him and I have actually taught shooting together in the past, and I was explaining to him what we have going on at Bruiser Arms and about him coming out and us doing some courses together, some long range shooting. So we're going to have pistol, carbine, rifle, long range, and we're going to do some like combo classes to where it's like 1 day pistol, second day will be rifle, third day long range shooting. I've done that before in the past.
That's pretty cool.
Also going to have some combatives programs for our first responders as well.
Nice.
Which I'm really looking forward to being able to do that. As always, I want to thank all the support that Origin and Jocko Fuel has given myself and my family over the years. What they're doing is absolutely incredible. If you want to get some of the best jiu-jitsu gear and regular clothes that are 100% American made here in America, go to originusa.com. Also go to jockofuel.com to get your supplements and clean energy drinks. It's really incredible what Peter Roberts and Amanda Roberts have been able to do with Origin and Jocko Fuel. And obviously since, Jocko came on board, just that partnership has been really cool to be able to watch, to be a part of it. And that's the thing, is that whatever you want in life is in front of you. You just have to go out there and put in the work. And that's what I've seen Peter Roberts and Amanda Roberts do with all. I don't even want to start listing names because I'll forget a name, but everyone that's been associated with Origin from the beginning. And then when Jocko came a part of that, and then, creating Jocko Fuel and just everything that they've done, Brian Littlefield with, just that transition and him taking over all the stuff with Jocko Fuel, and to watch what they've done has been incredible. And it's a testament to, if you go out there and you just put in the work, and if you just go to war with that complacency, and you go out there, you do the right things for the right reasons, what you want and what you need in life is in front of you. But sometimes we have to understand that what we want isn't what we need. We need to be seeking the things that we need. And, I started off at the beginning talking about how I'm not truly worthy of his sacrifice, and the sad parts that I've known this my whole life. Yet I allow complacency to creep in, and time and after time I've lived a life that wasn't truly up to honoring God's sacrifice. I mean, that's another thing that I have to keep in mind daily, is like, am I living my life to honor him with the gift that he's given me? Because I keep getting this extra time. Every single day I wake up and I have extra time. And so I challenge all of us to think about going out there and doing the work that is needed and to never settle. This has been the JP Dinnell podcast, episode 32.